What's happening, everybody? Professor Bobby Borg here for After Hours, or I should say, I guess we could call it After Hours, right? I'm at my home office today, and what we're going to be discussing is we're going to be discussing um, product development, and we're going to be talking about music monetization strategies, okay? Very, very important stuff. Again, I'm just going to reintroduce that because sometimes when you go live, it gets cut off. So what's happening, everybody? My name is Professor Bobby Borg, also known as Coach. And today we're going to do office hours from my live studio. And we're going to talk about product monetization and product development, which is a very, very important stage in the marketing process. Okay. So if everything is cool, feel free to ask questions and I'll be able to get to them a little bit later. But I'm going to power through this production. Okay. All right. So developing your products and services is a very important part of the marketing process. It typically comes after the sort of the branding phase. So in other words, a brand is an idea of what you'd like your products and services to be and what you'd like your company to be about. And the product service development plan is actually executing that and bringing that from a conception to a reality. Okay. So the way you need to kind of think of this is think of it like an architect. An architect creates a draft, right, of what a house is going to look like. They have a layout of the staircases are going to be here, the chimney's going to be here, the garages are going to be here, right? And then essentially they need to build this now. They need to hire the right they need to hire the right contractors, they need to hire the right developers, they need to hire the right people to come in and pour the concrete, etc. So the same thing goes for you too. When you're preparing to make a record, you need to actually be clear about where you're going to make it, what producers you're going to use, who's going to mix it, who's going to master it. Then you also need to be clear about how you're going to do your live performances. You need to think about, things like, are you going to hire musicians? Are you just going to do it yourself with loop pedals? Are you going to use any special production? Like, for example, are you going to use a special sound person? Are you going to use special light people to come in? Are you going to build any props? If so, who is going to do that? You also need to think about how you're going to make your t-shirts. Are you just going to do it yourself? Buy a silk screen in your cellar? Or are you going to use a printer? If you're going to use a printer, which printers are you going to use? If you're going to do merch on demand, which merch on demand sites are you going to use? If you're going to build sort of an e-commerce site, which platforms are you going to use? In other words, part of the planning process has to be to plan this stuff out. You can't just wait till the last minute and just kind of be like, because that takes the word plan out of marketing plan. And as they say, planning, not having a plan is like planning to fail. So thinking these things through in advance is extremely important. You don't just go and it all just comes together. And part of the reason why is because as you move up and you start working at the major label level, you have to plan the producers and the studios and all that stuff in advance. Musicians you might want to use on your record might be on tour. Producers might be backed up for the next 2 years. Do you think Rook Rubin is just sitting around waiting for you to call him? So this all has to be planned out, okay? Now, moving on real quick, when we're talking about products and services and monetization in the music industry, we're basically talking about your three primary products, right? We're talking about your records, and your records could be in any format you want them to be. They could be in vinyl, they could be in CDs, they could just be in streaming, or they could be in all of them. We're also talking about your live performance sets. We're also talking about your t-shirts. These are the main products. But what I've seen is that a lot of musicians are very narrow-minded with regards to how they sell those products. Let me just give you an example. I'm going to give you like 30 examples, okay, of how you can potentially increase your monetization, okay? And what I'm going to do real quick, if you guys don't mind, just to make sure that I don't get cut off, I'm going to plug in my iPhone because it needs a little bit more battery. So just sorry about this, but hang on one sec. All right, I'm back. I'm so sorry about that, but hey, we're live, man. This is live. Okay, so let me just make sure. Okay, so that's plugged in. Sorry, you guys. Um, all right, well, that's what live is all about, right? Okay, so let's get to this. So, how many ways can you sell a song? Okay, think about that. How many ways can you sell the song? Here's what most DIY artists and independent artists do. They go ahead and they send it out to Spotify, and then they just hope that the streams are going to add up, right? Well, there's so many other techniques that you can use. First of all, rather than just sending out your song, you can do an acoustic version. Do you guys remember the MTV Unplugs? Just go ahead and Google like Alice in Chains Unplugged. It's freaking phenomenal, man. It's like an acoustic like set of your music, or acoustic performance of your song could be amazing. You could do a translation version in another language to reach a wider audience. You could do a live version of the song. You could do a remix electronic dance version of the song. You could do a guest feature a version by maybe using some other local musician and doing another recording featuring maybe a cool local rapper or something. You could do the sped up version, the slow down version, the extended version. You could do interactive stems version. In other words, you sell the actual, or maybe you release to your fans the stems so that they can make their own mixes. Or you could do a sample pack of the different sounds and stuff that it took to get that song recorded or that record recorded. You could do an instrumental version so that you can use it for synchronization, or a clean version, or what's called a vocal down version. Vocal down versions are when you put the vocal down in the mix so that it works under certain scenes in a movie or a television show. You could also, of course, release vinyl. You could release CDs. You could release these MP3 toy chips. So they make these little MP3 chips so that you can sell them to your fans, or so when they open like a birthday card or a holiday card, your song starts to play. Or you could put it in stuffed animals, and when you squeeze them, your song plays. So many different types of things you could do. As far as your live performance set, you could do the solo singer acoustic set. You could do the solo singer like track loop pedal set where you're playing to tracks or you're playing to loop pedals. You could do your full band electric set. You could do a full band acoustic set. You could do the DJ electronic set. You could do an a cappella set. You could do a band and orchestra set. This might be a little difficult, but where I teach, we have a pop division, we have a classical division, we have the music industry division. And a lot of times if you guys all like interact with each other, it wouldn't be so hard to get a violinist, a cellist, some flutes or something like that, and have an actual, like a little bit of an ensemble or orchestral ensemble behind you. Definitely would be a cool idea. You could do a multi sort of cultural instrument set. Like if you guys have ever seen the Led Zeppelin version where they're using Indian instruments and tablas and sitars and stuff, absolutely amazing. This is a little bit out there, but you could do a dramatic set. What that basically means is that, like, for example, at USC, there's a dance school, and a lot of times they do interpretive dances and stuff like that. And a lot of times they do that to pop music, and maybe they might be interested in doing it to your music. I know that's going out a little bit on a limb, but that's possible. You could do the jam set version of your music where you just play the verse and chorus, and then you go off on some spacey kind of jam, something like what Fish would do, or the Grateful Dead would do, or like Government Mule might do, or like bands like Late Tame Impala might do. Okay, then as far as your merch goes, you could have short sleeve merch, long sleeve merch, black and white colored merch, multicolored merch. You could have a lyric or slogan t-shirt merch. You could have an album artwork merch. You could have tour date shirts. Like even if you're just playing locally, you can list all out the dates that you're playing. You could have limited like pop-up tees. So in other words, if you're just playing at like the Troubadour or the Viper Room or the Whiskey, you can make shirts specifically for the Whiskey. Like this event, this is a one and only shirt. You're never going to get it again. And that might inspire people to get it. You could have limited pop-up tees. where you make tees just on a limited basis. You could do exclusive hand painted tees. I mean, so many things you could do. Other merch that you could do hoodies, caps, phone cases, computer bags, backpacks, skate decks, jewelry. One student of mine took his bass strings, and when his bass strings broke, he made jewelry out of them and actually grossed $30,000 a year doing this. I'm serious. You could do rolling papers. You could do beach towels. As far as audio visual stuff, you could do a making of video album. Have you guys ever seen when Kanye did that video of like when he was coming up from like producer to wanting to be a rapper, or when um, uh, what's her name? Oh gosh, I forget her name, but she did a version of this too as she was coming up and showed pictures of when she was getting signed and things like that. Amy Winehouse, right? You could do a making of your career a video. You could do a behind the scenes video of you in the studio. There's so many types of audio visual type things you could do. And then you can sell them. That could be exclusive content on like a Patreon or like a Facebook club that you maybe charge fans $1 or a month or something. If you have 300 fans, it's 300 extra bucks a month, right? So there's all kinds of really, really cool things, obviously, that you could do. You could even create situations where maybe you work it out with the club where certain like fans win a prize to come see you do sound check at your shows or something like that, where it's just 3 or 4 fans are allowed to do that. Or even when you're recording your record, you could allow fans to actually come in and sit there and watch you actually while you're recording your session. And maybe, I don't know, it's some sort of part of some prize or some paid membership or something like that. These are all things that you guys could do to monetize and make extra money. Okay. Very, very important stuff. All right. Some other stuff I want to talk about when we're talking about product as well is I want to talk about customer service policy. Customer service policy is the things that you do that are extra to make the fans feel very, very special. Things like, writing them a happy birthday card or sending them a happy birthday email or sending them a thank you card, or if you're a beat maker, like maybe having a satisfaction guarantee or something, or like tell people that you'll deliver it faster than anyone else. So if they want it tomorrow morning, you're going to have the beat ready tomorrow morning. You can let fans engage with your live performances and tell you and ask you like what the set list is going to be and let the fans help you develop the set list. You could do a special meet and greets with your fans, particularly after your shows or something. Let's just see. You could treat them like VIPs, and even at local shows as an indie artist, you can make sure they get backstage or are able to come back to your dressing room, or able to like meet you back by the vans when you're packing up your equipment, or you just treat them that way, or invite them to like a special after party or something like that. These are all things that you could do that will help the engagement with your fans. Okay. Finally, always think about, when you're thinking about your products, always think about what's called the product feature benefit. Think about what your product is, think about what the feature of that product is, and then think about what the benefit of that product is to the customer. So never just say, click on my songs or come to my shows or buy the merch. Tell us why. Tell us why we should do that stuff. Why should we care? And you have to be careful not to be corny, but just in very simple words, tell us why we should come to your shows, why we should like listen to the song. Try to find the emotional value in it. Like, what are they going to get out of it? If you can put that into words that don't sound corny, like you don't want to say, come to our show because we're going to rock you, because that's just corny. But like figure out like a way to talk about like, like the kind of people that are going to be there, or the vibe you're going to have, or the atmosphere you're creating in the space that you're playing, or the other acts that are coming in. And it's going to be this eclectic act of like of music and all that kind of stuff. I mean, just you have to figure it out right, but product features benefits. You always have to sell the benefits. Remember that. So you should make a list of all your products so that when you go into your promotional campaigns and your advertising, obviously, you know how to handle that. All right, moving on. One last thing I want to talk about is pricing. Pricing is a very important part of marketing. And we're aware of this literally every single day, right? Because when you go into the grocery market, you see different prices and that affects how you buy things, right? Well, the same thing works in the music industry too. How are we going to use pricing to get people to buy our stuff? So let's just take, for example, our merch, right? We have like maybe a DVD or we have a vinyl record or something on sale at our table at one of our shows, and we have a piece of merchandise and like a sticker. Rather than selling it just individually, always have like what's called a package deal too, as well. So you have all the products individually would like maybe cost $30, but if they buy it all together, it only costs $20 and it saves them $10. You just have to make sure that when you price it, though, you price it in a way that is going to still make you a profit, of course. So you have to figure it out mathematically. Another thing that you could do is you can use what's called loss leader pricing. That basically means where you sell a product and you sell it at a loss, like you can even give it away for free in order to draw people in. So after a show, you could say something like, hey, everybody, we're giving away free patches at our merch booth. And then it drags them over to the merch booth. And then you have a really attractive person selling your merch, or you have like, just some really cool merch. And you say, hey, check out this shirt and what it would look like if you put the patch on this shirt. And so you're taking a chance. You're leading them over there, hoping that you're going to get the sale. And the worst case scenario, they take your patch or your sticker and they promote you. So it's called loss leader pricing. Another thing that you could use is pay what you will pricing. That means you let the fans actually tell you what the price is going to be. So, for example, you might say something like, hey, you tell us what you want to give us, $5, $10, $20. And what you'll typically find is there's always going to be the cheap a-hole, but bottom line, a lot of times people end up paying twice as much, right? So these are a couple pricing strategies you guys might want to consider. Let me see if there is any others that I want to lay on you. There was really a cool kind of pricing strategy some of my friends used in a band called Klepto. They used haggle pricing, kind of like to mock a Saudi Arabian sock, market. They have Saudi Arabian roots. So basically afterwards, like all the fans would rush over to the merch table and they'd allow this kind of like haggle thing, like $15, like 12, 13, 11, and it was just they created this fun atmosphere where people like would run over to the merch booth just so that they could haggle, right? It's good times. It was a lot of fun. So just kind of try to be creative with your pricing strategies. Don't just like say $5. It's like, well, why $5? You have to have a reason behind why you charge everything for what you're charging. And when you come up with some really cool stuff, it really works. One last one is what's called disguised pricing. That's where you might say something like, when people come through the door, you might say, hey, it's $5 to get into the show. You might have a house party or something. You might say, hey, it's $10 to come into the show. We have kegs of beer that you can drink or whatever, of course, if it's legal. And it also gets you a free t-shirt. Do you want it in white or black? You know what I mean? So in essence, what they're really doing is they're buying a t-shirt at the door, And so it feels like you're trying to make it sound like it's a free t-shirt, but in essence, they're really buying it at the door, right? So that's called disguise pricing. So there's a lot of pricing strategies. Come up with some really amazing and smart ones, because that is what helps with monetization. And making some money. And these days, you guys, where like streaming amounts to pennies and people are trying to make you pay to play, you've got to find creative ways to generate money. Okay, so that's pretty much it for office hours. If you guys have any comments or any questions or anything, just please make sure to leave it. And that's pretty much it. Peace, love, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.